Hi everyone, Joe March here, also known as Sorcerer, and sometimes my ideas for content come from you guys. Let's see what you guys got for me right now. This is on my last video, What Lunch Does the Algorithm Feed Me? Speaking of AI videos, here's one of those YouTube throws at me. Why you should touch a tree every day. Would you care to evaluate it? Oh yeah, let's do it.
You've touched a tree before. You touched it and walked away. Something
Hell
you
yeah,
could
I
not
did.
see and could not feel started inside your body the moment your hand met that bark. And it was still going 7 days later.
Look, man, we all got our kinks, okay? Sometimes you just can't get it out of your head for 7 days. Sometimes it's just like a momentary thing, all right? Don't rope me into this, all right?
And the thing you touched is not what you think it is.
Oh!
Nobody asks is why. What is a tree doing to your body without a single chemical pill? The answer involves what wood is actually made of, what is happening.
My God, it's too easy. The answer is what wood is actually made of? Sometimes it's just muscles and veins, guys.
Happening underneath every forest floor, and why the oldest living thing on earth has never aged a single day. Hold your hand out in front of you. Look at your fingertips. You have touched thousands of things today. Your doorknob, your coffee cup, your
Dude, stop watching me when the camera's off.
fabric of your clothes. You have never touched a single one of them. Not once in your entire life. The electron clouds around the atoms in your skin repel the electron clouds in everything you reach for.
I mean, that's true.
Electromagnetic force pushes back across a gap that never closes. What you feel as contact is force across empty space. Every texture you have ever known, every handshake, every surface you have pressed your palm against, electromagnetic repulsion. Your brain interprets the force as touch, but the gap is always there.
I mean, technically that's true, but you still feel different sensations when you feel different things. Knowing that there is space between the actual atoms, well, it's not even between the atoms, between like certain aspects of certain particles, doesn't change what you experience. So I don't know why this is important, like at all. But let's see where he's going with this.
So when you put your hand on a tree, your skin does not meet the bark.
I mean,
But
it
something
does.
does cross that gap, not through contact, through the air between you.
Look, your skin is a concept. The bark is a concept. The skin touching the bark is a concept, all right? You could try to get technical and be like, the atoms themselves are made up of space. So actually, the nucleus of the atoms don't touch what the electron area, no, none of it works like that. Look, it is true that every single atom is in a sense separate from every other atom, but that's true in my entire hand, right? Like all the different atoms in my hand are also not actually like one with each other, right? But that doesn't stop me from feeling it and calling it a hand. We call these things because we're categorizing them. My skin isn't my skin because it's a specific particle called skin. It's just the name for what this stuff is. And then you touch stuff and you feel it. Like, I don't know why he's getting all sciencey on it, but in a way that doesn't mean anything. Well, okay. I guess we're going to learn how to really touch a tree then.
And the physics of what crosses that gap is the first thing nobody ever explains.
Mm-hmm.
Trees release molecules into the air around them, not occasionally, constantly.
Those bitches.
Constantly. These are volatile organic compounds. Molecules with low enough molecular mass and high enough vapor pressure to transition from liquid to gas at ordinary temperatures. And
look, I hate to break it to you guys, but I'm getting up there in age, and now I also let out vapors and gases everywhere I go, all right? This is not only a tree problem.
Atmospheric pressure. That is a physics threshold, not a biology one. Whether a molecule becomes airborne depends on intermolecular forces.
Sure.
How tightly the molecules grip each other. Below a certain molecular weight and above a certain vapor pressure, the molecule escapes into the gas phase. Alpha pinene.
Yeah.
Beta pinene.
There's a difference between a shart and a fart.
1,8 cineol. These molecules are light enough and loosely bound enough to float. They have a name, phytoncides. And that word does not mean what people selling essential oils want you to think it means.
Does it mean
It was
something to
coined
those
in
people?
1928 by a Russian biologist named Boris Tolkien, and it literally translates to exterminated by the plant. These are chemical defense weapons. Trees manufacture
Cool.
them to kill bacteria, fungi, and insects that threaten the tree's survival. The tree is not releasing pleasant aromas. It is waging chemical warfare on everything small enough to be destroyed by airborne molecules.
I mean, it's an evolutionary thing. So over time, trees that emitted this survived better because things that would prey on them would either be killed or would be unattracted to it, things like that. This doesn't mean it's like literally trying to kill all those things. It's just the byproduct of what survived in this experience. But go on.
Here is the physics that matters. Once these molecules enter the gas phase, they follow the same rules every gas follows. Fick's law of diffusion.
Sure.
Molecules move from regions of high concentration to regions of low concentration along a gradient.
Great.
The tree is the source. Maximum concentration at the bark surface.
Okay.
The air around the tree
Where are we
is
going
a
with
gradient
this?
field. Concentration drops with distance according to an inverse relationship. 1 hectare of pine forest, about 2.5 acres, releases roughly 5 kilograms of phytoncides into the air every single day.
Sure.
5 kilograms of antimicrobial molecules diffusing outward, sterilizing the atmosphere as they go.
I mean, like, my body produces mucus and shit to push stuff out of my nose, to keep bacteria and other things from getting up in there and giving me an infection. If one time I accidentally had a bug fucking fly right up my nostril like an asshole, and I had to, like, cough that bitch out, and because I couldn't get it out of my nose, I ended up coughing it out of my mouth, covered in, like, this basically ooze packet that my body had created around it. And it was dead as shit, because the body's got your ass like that. It's got your back. This is just the tree's equivalent to that. We have defense mechanisms because we live in the world we live in. And everybody produces shit. We shed hair and grease and shit all over the place that we go. We can't see it because it's microscopic. Well, sometimes you can see it. We fart, we belch, we have breath stinks. We are inhaling oxygen constantly and exhaling carbon dioxide. Like, any organism that's alive is causing this kind of interaction with everything around it. And in fact, we just, again, kind of define what we want to consider the end of one organism and beginning of another arbitrarily. Like, oh man, I'm this, but I'm not the area around me where all my smells are going off to. That's separate. Like, sure, I guess. And you could look at it that way, or you could look at it as like the environment and me and everything is all interacting. Is the air in front of my mouth not me coming back out? Like, is that not my air that came out? And the air I breathe in, does that not become me? I don't know. You know, we could talk semantics all day about where you end and something else begins. But at the end of the day, we're just deciding to define things a certain way. And the same thing is true with most math and physics. I know people want to be like, the world is math and math is perfect, and it's like, yeah, okay. But really, at the end of the day, math is just the names we gave to patterns that we found. And the reason we're like, oh man, it's universal is because those patterns are universal. Like, the math itself is not the universal thing. We're naming the universal things using math, you know? I don't know. I don't know where he's going. He might go to something mind-blowing with this. Because this is why you should touch a tree every day. We haven't gotten anywhere near that. Let's see where he's going.
Forest air contains 200 to 300 bacterial cells per cubic meter.
Why do I care?
City air contains thousands. The diffusion field around the tree is, in a measurable sense, a sterilization zone. When you stand near a tree, you are standing inside this diffusion cloud.
Okay.
When you touch the bark, you are at the point of maximum concentration.
Sure.
Your lungs pull roughly 6 to 8 liters of air per minute at rest.
Great.
Each breath carries these molecules across the thin membrane of your alveoli and into
This is why I'm
your
allergic to the spring, isn't it? Is that what we're talking
Physics
about?
is simple. Gas phase diffusion into a low-pressure biological system. The consequences are not simple at all. Once these molecules cross into your lungs, something measurable happens. In 2009...
But I thought I couldn't touch those molecules. So how come it affects me when they're in my lungs, huh? Think about that shit.
Research team led by Dr. Ching Li at Nippon Medical School in Tokyo exposed human subjects to phytoncides and measured what happened to their immune cells over the following weeks. Natural killer cells. A specific class
Did he
of
just
lymphocytes
yell
whose
natural killer
function
cells
is
with
to
no
identify
explanation? No
and
way.
destroy
I want to hear
them.
this again.
Once these molecules cross into your lungs, something measurable happens. In 2009, a research team led by Dr. Ching Li at Nippon Medical School in Tokyo exposed human subjects to phytoncides and measured what happened to their immune cells over the following weeks. Natural killer cells. A specific class of lymphocyte whose function is to identify and destroy tumor cells and virus-infected cells.
Cool.
Showed significantly increased activity.
Man, I might need to
Not
speed
for
this guy
hours,
up.
not for a day. The increase in natural killer cell activity lasted more than 7 days from a single exposure. Extended exposure over 2 or 3 days in a forest produced effects lasting more than 30 days. The same study
That's
measured
too
adrenaline
fast.
and noradrenaline concentrations in subjects' urine and found
Oh my God, he
significant
sounds like a
reductions.
normal person
Stress
at
hormones
1.5.
that drive your fight or flight response physically decreased in the presence of these diffusing molecules.
Fucking commercial. I swear, it knows when I do something like that. It's like, oh, you're clicking around, you're looking right now. I'm gonna put commercial in your face.
It's saying I need some new tires.
Is it? Who's
Also,
saying
it's an
that?
Oil change. Not everyone
The
speaks
car?
but the trusted techs at Mopar.
This guy doesn't speak car either.
Every buzz, rattle, and squeak.
This guy looks like he's a little too into the car.
Other floor mats.
I wouldn't trust this guy alone in my car,
So you
guys.
don't have to.
Oh, I didn't hit skip fast enough. Skip!
Think about that. Molecular compounds following a concentration.
Think about
gradient
what?
of
I got
gas
distracted by the
entering through
YouTube
respiratory system
commercial.
and altering the behavior
Oh,
of
look,
specific
everybody
cells
goes
and
back at this
not
point.
adrenaline and noradrenaline concentrations in subjects' urine and found significant reductions. The stress hormones that drive your fight or flight response physically decreased in the presence of these diffusing molecules. Think about that. Molecular compounds following a concentration gradient through an air gap, entering through the respiratory system and altering the behavior of specific immune cells for weeks. Not relaxation, not fresh air, not placebo. Physics, diffusion physics, delivering a measurable biological result. But there is a second
This could be
mechanism
true.
operating through the same tree at the same time. Electron transfer. A tree is an electrical conductor. Its root system is in direct contact with the Earth's surface, which carries a net negative charge, a charge maintained by the global electrical circuit, driven by roughly 2,000 active thunderstorms happening at any given moment around the planet. When your
Cool.
conductive skin contacts a grounded conductor, charge flows. Electrons move from the Earth through the tree into your body. A study published in 2013 measured what this does to human blood. Grounding increased the zeta potential on red blood cells, the electrical charge on the cell surface that determines how strongly cells repel one another. Higher zeta potential means your red blood cells spread apart rather than clumping. A measurable change in blood viscosity from electron transfer through a tree trunk connected to the ground beneath your feet. There is a third layer, and this one is a trick your own nervous system plays on you. Thermal conductivity. Wood conducts heat roughly 1,000 times more slowly than metal. When you
Yeah.
wrap your hand around a metal railing on a cold morning, the metal rips heat from your skin. It feels freezing. Wood does not do this. Your hand stays warm, and your brain reads that warmth as comfort, as
True
God
enough.
giving you something. But the tree is not giving you warmth. It is simply failing to take it. Your nervous system cannot distinguish
Yeah,
between an
it's-
object that provides heat
It's
and
not
an
a
object that does
conductor.
not
That's why
conduct.
we make like handles
Thermophysics
for
creating a neurological
pots and pans
illusion
out of
of
wood
warmth
and
that has
stuff
nothing
like
to do
that.
with
Or at
the
least
tree
we used
and
to.
everything to do with conductivity coefficients. So, 3 physics mechanisms: molecular diffusion delivering antimicrobial compounds along concentration gradients, electron transfer modifying blood cell charge through a grounded conductor, thermal conductivity generating an illusion of comfort in the somatosensory cortex, all measurable, all operating through the air gap between your skin and the bark. Not metaphor, physics.
The air
Now I want you to
gap.
think about the tree itself. You have been thinking about what it does to you. Think about what it actually is. A mature oak weighs around 10,000 pounds. Conservation of mass, one of the oldest principles in physics, says that weight came from somewhere. Every atom in that trunk existed before the tree did. So where did 10,000 pounds come from? Well, the obvious answer is the soil. Roots go deep, pull material up, material becomes tree. That feels right.
Sure.
A man named John Baptist Van Helmont thought so too.
What's his name?
1648, he
Hellmouth?
designed one of the most
John
elegant experiments in
Baptista
history of art.
Hellmouth?
He dried 200 pounds of soil in an
That's
oven,
gonna be my
weighed it
new
precisely,
my
and placed it in
next
a room.
character's
Material
name
becomes
in
tree.
D&D.
That feels right. And a man named John Baptist Van Helmont thought so too.
Yeah, John
1648,
Baptist von
he designed one
Hellmouth.
of the
That's
most
my
elegant
next character
experiments
at
in the history
D&D,
of
guys.
biology. He dried 200 pounds of soil in an oven, weighed it precisely.
I see it
placed
says
in a large
Helmond.
pot,
I understand.
planted a 5-pound willow sapling.
My guy's
Then
gonna be
covered the pot
Hellmouth.
with a perforated tin lid to keep out dust and airborne debris for 5 years. 5 years. He watered that tree with nothing but rainwater or distilled water. He
Okay,
kept
what is the
secret.
point of all
He
this?
wouldn't do
Like,
this.
if I
He
breathe
finally
in some
uprooted the tree and
tree
weighed everything. The willow had
jizz
grown
and
to
I
169 pounds.
touch on
He
some
gained
trees,
164
then I'm
pounds
gonna
of
feel
solid
better?
mass.
Is that
Bark,
like,
wood,
what is the
roots,
end
branches.
result? Let's
Dried
get
the
to
soil
it.
and
Stop
made it
throwing a bunch of
and
like
lost less than 2 ounces.
math on the screen. Just tell me
164 pounds of
the
mass
like. Can we get to the
it had not
point?
come from the soil. Van Helmont concluded it must have come from the water. Reasonable guess. Water was the only thing he added. But think about this more carefully. Water is H2O, hydrogen, and oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
Hydrogen is the lightest element in the universe. 1 proton, 1 electron, almost no mass at all. And wood. The hard, dense structural material of a tree is made of carbon. Carbon is a heavier atom.
Okay.
6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. Roughly 50% of the dry weight of any tree is carbon atoms. Not hydrogen, not oxygen. Carbon. Where is the carbon coming from?
But trees, the roots don't just pull water. There's a reason that soil has to be fertilized and stuff. There's a reason that different soils have different trees. Whatever.
From water. Water contains no carbon. Not
I feel
from
like
soil.
there's a lot of
Soil
science on the
contains
screen, but he's
all the
treating me
minerals
like I'm a
tree pulls from the
baby.
ground. Calcium, potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, iron. Together account for only 1 to 2% of total dry mass. Trace amounts. The water contributed hydrogen and oxygen, yes. But the carbon, the bulk of the tree, the thing that makes wood hard and dense and structural, did not come from water and did not come from soil. Van Helmont had eliminated 2 answers. He was stuck. And the right answer was, in the most literal sense, surrounding him. So where did it come from? This is a genuine physics puzzle, and the answer is one of the most beautiful in all of science. It came from a gas, carbon dioxide, CO2.
Well,
A
yeah,
molecule
that's
that
what
makes up just 0.04%
that's what
of
like
the
trees basically breathe.
atmosphere. An
That
invisible
shit.
trace gas hanging in the air around Van
So
Helmont's
that's why we need plants, because we breathe out carbon dioxide and they breathe out oxygen. They don't breathe, but you get my idea. I mean, like, I didn't need a science lesson for 11 and to 11. In the comments, guys, you remember we learned this from the other videos. In the comments, tell me that I must be right about everything, because we've seen a repeating number. 11.
experiment the entire time he was running it. Trees pull carbon dioxide through tiny pores on their leaves called stomata. Inside the leaf, they strip the carbon atom from the CO2 molecule, chain those carbon atoms together into glucose, C6H12O6, and release the leftover oxygen.
Yeah.
That released oxygen is your
I
breathing
took a
air.
science
Every
class.
breath
I
that
remember
exists
this. What is
because
your
the tree somewhere
point?
stripped carbon from the atmosphere and discarded the oxygen as waste. But the mechanism of that stripping, this is where the physics is remarkable.
Now we're talking about the
On
wood
nearest living
stripping.
surface right now. A desk, a door frame, a shelf. What you are touching was assembled by starlight. Sunlight is electromagnetic radiation traveling at 300 million meters per second. from
Yeah,
a star 93
and they
million
need
miles away.
sunlight also.
When a
That
photon
is
of the right
correct.
wavelength,
It's
roughly
almost like you're
400
figuring
700
out that the
nanometers,
chemical
the visible
makeup
spectrum strikes a
of
chlorophyll
anything
molecule.
is made up of the other
Takes an
things that
electron to a higher
interact with
energy
it.
state. That electron has absorbed the photon.
And in that way,
is now unstable, excited.
at
carrying
what
more
point
energy
is
than
it a
it should.
tree and not
It
all
enters
the
an
other
electron
things,
transport
right?
chain.
This is what I'm talking
Sequence of
about.
molecular machines embedded in the membrane of the chloroplast, and its energy is extracted step by step to build ATP, the
Okay.
universal energy molecule of biology. That
Sure.
ATP then powers the most thermodynamically improbable reaction in the living world, breaking apart carbon dioxide. CO2 is one of the most stable small molecules in nature. The bond between carbon and oxygen is strong. It takes real energy to tear it apart.
Sure.
ATP provides that energy. The carbon atom is freed from its
All right,
oxygen
what-
partners, and
where
the
are we
tree
going with
forges it
this?
into glucose through new
Oh,
electromagnetic
look, I can see where
Carbon,
everyone else
carbon,
skipped to,
carbon,
too. Here we go.
Derived it from the
Boom.
Greek word chaos to describe the invisible vapors he kept encountering in his chemical experiments. He was the first person in history to recognize that there were different kinds of invisible air, that carbon dioxide was a distinct substance, different from regular
How long ago in history was this? There's different kinds of invisible air? No shit.
chaos to describe the invisible vapors he kept encountering to
called it
figure out where
chaos.
it went. And the answer was floating invisibly in
Oh,
front of
look
his
how
face
old
the
this
entire
guy
time.
looks. Okay,
Here
my
is the
bad.
twist that makes
Maybe
the
they
story
didn't know better
extraordinary.
back then.
Van Helmont coined the word gas. He derived it from the Greek
Oh,
word
he
chaos
came
to
up with
describe
the
the
word
invisible vapors he kept
gas?
encountering in his
Shit,
chemical
we're
experiments.
going way back,
The first
guys. I
person
didn't realize we were
to
going in the
recognize
Wayback
there were different kinds of
Machine.
invisible air. That carbon dioxide was a distinct substance.
This
different
is
from regular atmosphere.
pre-internet.
He invented the word for the very thing that held his answer, and he still missed it. The man who named gases could not see that a gas was
Like,
building
let's look
his
at this
tree,
guy
things
again.
floating invisibly in
This
front
is how we looked in the 90s, guys, pre-internet. This is what we used to dress like.
of his face the entire time. But here is the twist that makes the story extraordinary.
Okay,
Van
let's hear
Helmont
it.
coined the word gas. He derived it from the Greek word chaos to describe the invisible vapors he kept encountering in his chemical experiments.
Wait
He
a
was the
minute.
first person in
So gas is related to the word chaos? So does that mean Tiamat is the god of gas? I don't
history
think
to
so.
recognize that there were different kinds of invisible air, that carbon dioxide was a distinct substance, different from regular atmosphere. He invented the word for the very thing that held his answer, and he still missed it. The man who named gases could not see that a gas was building his tree. Think about that. Every plank of wood in your house, every page of every book you have ever held,
Dude.
every forest on this planet, all of it was once invisible carbon dioxide drifting through the
I'm telling you, there's
When you touch
definitely
a tree, you're
different
touching centuries.
invisible things that you breathe in that come out of my body that stink and that can get stuck to surfaces if you aren't careful. So, like, come on, man. How is this like news to anyone back then? I feel like this guy just was out of the loop, and everyone's like, "Yeah, we know this." And he's like, "But guys, I named it gas," and they're like, "Cool, but we call it farts. You know, like it's fine."
Of electromagnetic energy from a star, locked into chemical bonds between carbon atoms pulled from thin air.
You know,
Here is
you know how Carl Sagan once explained that we're all technically stardust, right? That at some point before the planets formed, the stars created all these different atoms and things that became the clustered up planets, or at least that's the theory. And so technically every single atom and molecule started out as stardust. That means my farts are stardust. Think about that.
Here is what that means for you right now.
When
Every
you
breath
breathe
you
in my fart, because I farted in your face, then you're breathing stardust, baby. You're breathing the stars.
carbon dioxide, CO2, leaving your lungs. Some of those carbon atoms were once part of food you ate, which was once a plant, which pulled those atoms from the air, which got those atoms from
This
air.
is called the
You
circle.
are
See, that's what I'm
exhaling
talking about.
atoms
That's
through the
Tiamat
cycle
shit.
before. The carbon in
The
your breath
circle of
or a blade of
life
grass, or a
is
fern
a
200 million years
circle
old.
of
The
death.
tree you are standing next to right now is pulling some of those atoms back in through its leaves, stripping
Sure.
the carbon, building it into wood. You are breathing.
Yeah, we all require each other, right? Everything on the planet uses each other, and if it's in balance, the planet's good, and if it's not, shit starts to fuck up, but the planet will find an equilibrium anyway. And that could be bad for us or good, depending on which side of this imbalance we're on, right? Is that because we're separate from the planet? Or is that because we're part of the planet but refuse to see it?
Breathing out what the tree is breathing in, you are part of the same carbon cycle, the same physics, the same conservation law, running in opposite directions. But you have been thinking about this tree as if it were standing alone, a single organism, a solitary thing.
I
living in
haven't
one
been.
place. It is not, and this is where the story changes. In the early 1990s, a young forest ecologist named Suzanne Simard was working for the British Columbia Ministry of Forests. Her job was to help improve forestry practices, specifically figuring out how to make replanted clear cuts grow faster. The standard practice at the time was to strip everything, cut the commercial trees, bulldoze the
Yeah,
remaining
stripping
vegetation,
trees,
plant
baby.
rows of Douglas fir seedlings in clean soil.
They gotta pay
And
their way
seedlings
through
kept
college
growing.
somehow.
Nobody could figure out why. They had sunlight, water, soil, space. Everything a tree should need. But they died at rates far higher than seedlings growing in natural forests with older trees around them.
That's
Simard
because you
an
had a
idea
brown
that ecology
thumb.
did not take seriously. She suspected the seedlings were dying because they had been cut off from something underground, something connecting them to older trees. She proposed that trees in a natural forest were sharing resources through fungal networks in the
Oh,
soil,
yeah, that's
and
true.
that the clear-cut seedlings were starving because the network had been destroyed. Now, you have to understand how this sounded in the 1990s. The prevailing model of forest ecology was competition. Trees compete for light, water, nutrients.
I guess that's true. I guess people didn't really understand how all this shit worked underground in the past.
Cooperating, sharing carbon, feeding each
Now
other,
we know
sounded
about
like
things
mysticism,
like,
not science. Simard was dismissed.
the different,
She has talked openly about
mycelia
senior colleagues
networks
telling
and
her
shit
this work
from-
would end her career. She
from
designed the experiment anyway.
mushrooms,
Went into the forest with
and
plastic bags,
how
syringes,
those things
Geiger
were
counter,
practically like a
two
neural
different
network.
radioactive
So
isotopes of carbon.
there's all
Carbon
kinds of
14 and
interesting
carbon 14.
science in the way this
Covered
stuff works
individual birch and
nowadays.
fir seedlings with sealed bags, injected air containing the radioactive CO2, and let the trees photosynthesize the labeled carbon into their tissues. Then she waited. Hours passed. She moved to the neighboring trees that had been growing nearby but had never been exposed to either tracer gas, and tested their tissues with the Geiger counter. The counter clicked. Radioactive carbon was inside trees that had never been given any. Carbon was flowing between trees through underground pathways, not through the air. She had sealed the system. Not through soil water. The isotope signatures were wrong for that. Through something physical, something structural, connecting root system to root system beneath the surface. Simard has described the moment she saw the Geiger counter respond on an unexposed tree. She knew right then. The network was real. The pathways are mycorrhizal networks. Fungal threads, hyphae, thinner than a human hair, that grow from the tips of tree roots and extend outward through the soil, connecting one tree's root system to another's.
The crown is rotten.
Oh my god!
He must.
It's Final Fantasy Tactics!
Time is at an end.
We gotta get in on this, guys. We're gonna do some Final Fantasy Tactics now. That's I don't know. I don't know why I felt like being like, yeah, here we go. Okay, continue.
A single fungal network can span an entire forest. 1 teaspoon of healthy forest soil contains miles of these threads, a density of connection that makes the network remarkably robust. Now,
Cool.
the topology of these connections resembles what network scientists call a scale-free network, a mathematical structure where a few nodes have enormous numbers of connections while most nodes have few. The same architecture found in the internet, in airline route maps, in the neural connections of a brain. The oldest, largest trees
That's
are
what we were
above
just talking
the
about.
highest degree nodes. The younger trees are the peripheral nodes connected to them. Kevin Baylor, one of Simard's graduate students, used DNA analysis to map the physical connections in an entire Douglas fir forest. Virtually every tree was linked. The network was not scattered patches of connection, it was one continuous web, and the traffic flowing through this network is not trivial. Paper birch and Douglas fir exchange carbon seasonally. In summer, when young Douglas fir are shaded by the canopy and struggling to photosynthesize, birch trees send carbon through the fungal connections to sustain them. In winter,
Sweet.
when birch has dropped its leaves and cannot make sugar, fir returns the favor. The network redistributes resources from surplus to deficit. A kind
It's almost like when you're not an animal, when you're a plant, it's a more close to nature, regular way of everything interacting with each other. And as you become more independently self-aware, you become more isolated in your thinking and individuated in a way. It's almost like that.
of equilibration across connected nodes driven by concentration gradients. The same diffusion physics that governs the phytoncides in the air governs the carbon flow underground. But it is not just nutrients. Chemical signals propagate through
And it's important we recognize that you're supposed to be. Like, if we weren't supposed to experience individuation and being individuals, we wouldn't be. Right? If the tree was supposed to have an individual personality, it would have one. Now, it's not that there's a supposed to, that's maybe the wrong word, but I mean, a tree being a tree is being a tree linked to other trees. It's being part of the world, it's being part of the forest, etc. A human being a human has an identity and things like that. And that's part of being a human. So it isn't like you need to be like, whoa, one of these is correct and one of them is wrong. No, they're two different ways of being, but it actually is all the same being, the same person, the same thing, being all these things in different ways. We're a different way of experiencing life than the tree is.
Network. When a Douglas fir is attacked by insects and sustains tissue damage, it releases defense compounds into the mycorrhizal network. Neighboring trees, including different species connected through the same fungal web, begin producing defense enzymes before the insects have reached them. Information transmitted through a physical substrate, not light, not sound. Chemistry traveling through fungal fiber in the dark beneath the forest.
It's impressive.
The
It's
oldest
cool
trees in the
shit.
forest, Simard calls them mother trees, function as the highest degree nodes in the network.
So
They
here's
have the
my
most
problem
fungal
with this.
connections, the most
Why should I touch a tree every day? We have not explained this yet.
resource flow, and they do something that surprised even Simard. They recognize their own offspring. Using DNA analysis, her team mapped which seedlings received the most carbon from which mature trees. Mother trees send significantly more carbon to genetically related seedlings than to unrelated ones growing at the same distance. They also adjusted their root architecture, physically pulling back their own roots to make space for their seedlings to establish. And when a mother tree is dying, when disease or damage is killing it, it dumps its carbon reserves into the network. A massive pulse of resources pushed outward to the connected trees before the hub goes offline. A final act of distribution from a dying node. Think about that. A tree that recognizes its offspring, feeds them preferentially, makes physical space for them, and when it dies, sends everything it has left into the network for the others. Simard's work has been debated. Some researchers argue the scale and significance of network communication may be overstated in popular accounts, and they have published critiques. Simard and others have published detailed
Yeah, this is stuff that
This
we
is how
don't know
science
for
refines
sure if
itself.
that's how it
Claim,
works or not
test,
scientifically.
counterclaim,
But
new
it's
data.
very
But
interesting.
the core finding rests on solid experimental evidence. Trees connect underground through fungal networks. Carbon, water, nutrients, and chemical signals move between them. The network is real. Now, when you touch a single tree, you are not touching an individual. You are touching a node in a distributed system that extends beneath your feet in every direction.
Sure.
The forest floor is a web of biological fiber carrying
I
mass.
mean, when I breathe the air, I'm not breathing an individual air either. I'm breathing this whole thing. Everything is like this. The fact that you think it's different with the trees means you're missing one piece of this puzzle, which is that everything is connected. Now, the trees are more directly connected. They're physically connected in a way that some of the other stuff isn't. But even when we were talking about gases, where they move, I would say from hot to cold, cold to hot, to balance. But how does he say it? Densities, which is true too, because it's how fast the molecules, the atoms are moving in there that determines whether they're hot or cold in the first place. Like this move toward equilibrium that the air is doing, you could say is a cooperation across the entire planet. Now, it's not as impressive as the nodes that we're talking about within this mycelia network, but everything in nature does interact with each other in this way to form larger hierarchies. We just choose not to notice them because we see things that we relate to more.
information between organisms that have been connected for centuries. I told you at the beginning that the oldest living thing on Earth has never aged a single day. Let me tell you what I mean. In the White Mountains of California, in a harsh landscape of wind-scoured rock and thin air, there is a bristlecone pine named Methuselah. It is 4,857 years old.
That's pretty
It was
cool.
a living tree when the Egyptian pyramids were under construction. It has been photosynthesizing continuously through the rise and fall of every civilization in recorded human history. The United States Forest Service keeps its exact location secret because they are afraid of what people might do to it if they could find it. There
You
was another
know we're
bristlecone
dumb
pine.
as shit. Because it's absolutely true. People be like, I gotta carve my name in Methuselah, bro. That way I'll be written on this tree forever, bro. Ah, look at me, I'm pissing on Methuselah, bro. Like, we're a fucking dumb species, okay? But that's okay. We're not supposed to be smarter than we are. We just are.
It was even older, at least 4,862 years, possibly over 5,000. In 1964, a geography graduate student named Donald Curry was studying glacial history in eastern Nevada. He was coring bristlecone pines to count their growth rings for climate data, standard dendrochronology. His increment borer got stuck in one particular tree. The tool jammed and he could not extract it. He asked the United States Forest Service for permission to cut the tree down to retrieve his
No.
equipment and get a sample. They said yes. He cut it down.
They say
And
yes.
only after he began counting the growth rings on the stump, painstakingly, ring by ring, working inward from bark to heartwood, did he realize what he had done. The count went past 1,000, past 2,000, past 3,000, past 4,000. He had destroyed the oldest known living organism on Earth. Nearly
Jesus.
5,000 years of continuous life. A tree that had been photosynthesizing since before the invention of writing, since before the wheel, since before any human civilization that still exists, ended because a coring tool got stuck and a bureaucrat signed a permission slip. Curry never fully
Yeah,
recovered from it.
that type of
Rarely
shit
spoke about
happens.
the incident for the rest of his career. Let that settle. Now, these trees survived not by being strong. They survived by being mostly dead. Bristlecone pines use something called sectored architecture. At any given time, only a narrow
No,
strip
it's
of
the
bark
lich
on the
tree.
is
It's
alive. A thin
undead.
ribbon of living cambium connecting a small section of roots to a handful of green needles.
It's a
95%
vampire
of
tree.
the tree is dead wood, but that dead wood is so dense and so saturated with resin that it does not rot. It erodes like stone, worn down by wind and ice over millennia, rather than consumed by bacteria. The needles stay on the branches for 40 years, conserving the energy that other trees spend regrowing leaves every spring. The tree sacrificed nearly all of itself to keep a sliver alive. Now here's the question that matters. Why don't trees age? You age. Every animal ages. Right
Man.
now, as you listen to this, your telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes, are shorter than they were 10 years ago.
Those
Every time one of your
bitches,
cells
they're just
divides,
not
those
keeping
caps
up
get
with
a little
me.
shorter. Your DNA is accumulating copying errors with every division. Your cells are gradually losing the ability
My
to
DNA is lazy like me. It's like, yeah, close enough.
accurately. This is programmed senescence. It is not a disease. It is a feature built into animal biology.
Yep.
You have a clock inside every cell in your body, and it is counting down. Trees do not have this clock. Their meristematic cells, the dividing cells at the tips of every root and branch, replicate indefinitely. The cambium layer, that thin ring of living tissue just beneath the bark, produces fresh wood and fresh bark every year without degradation. Researchers studying ancient bristlecone pines found something
Dude, could you imagine how bad it would be for the environment and for us if we didn't have a countdown clock like that? If like all humans just could live forever? God. I mean, we would still have people that were like in belief of shit from way back in the past and pushing that on everyone else who'd amassed power for so many years that you couldn't topple them. Society would never evolve.
remarkable. Telomerase activity. The enzyme that rebuilds telomeres, the very thing that wears down in your cells, was higher in the oldest trees than in young ones. The older the tree, the more actively it maintained its chromosomes. The cells of a 5,000-year-old bristlecone pine show no molecular indication of knowing how old they are. So what kills them? Stand up for a moment if you can. Feel your weight pressing into the floor through your feet. Feel gravity pulling straight down through your body. Now imagine that force, but amplified by 10,000 pounds of mass, pulling water 300 feet straight up from roots to crown through columns thinner than a drinking straw. Physics kills them, not biology. Physics. Wind force scales with surface area, and surface area increases with the
I mean, he
A
keeps
tree
on
tries to fall,
separating
catches 4
physics and
times the wind.
biology.
The
Another
storm,
separation
bending
that's
moment at the base of the
arbitrary.
trunk increases not just with wind speed,
Like, yes,
but with the
they are
lever arm of the
different
entire crown
practices
acting
and
like
they're
it.
different
Taller trees don't
sciences.
just catch more wind. They amplify
But
the force through
it's
mechanical
still
leverage.
just
Water transport through
science.
the xylem,
It's
the narrow
still
columns
just
of dead cells that
an
pull water upward
explanation
purely
of
by
the way
tension.
things
No
are.
pump, no heart, just the cohesive force of water molecules.
Like, oh
working
man,
together
in this
an
case, he
unbroken
didn't
chain
die
root
from
to root,
biology. He
while
died from
increasingly
physics.
extreme
He
negative
still
pressure
died.
as the tree grows taller.
He
At 100
died
feet,
from
the
nature,
system is
and
already
both are the
unstable
same.
stage. At 300 feet, the negative pressure approaches what physicists call the cavitation limit, the point where the water literally tears apart, dissolved gases form bubbles, the column breaks, and the transport line fails. This is why the tallest trees on Earth, Coast redwoods at roughly 380 feet are near the theoretical maximum. Wind catches the largest surface. Drought breaks the water columns. Insects exploit the first wound. Fire sweeps through. The structure fails.
Sure.
But the cells,
Shit dies.
the living, dividing cells in the cambium, those were fine. Those would have kept going. The biology did not fail. The engineering did. The bristlecone pine solved this by refusing to
Where are
grow.
we going with
Staying
this?
small. Growing slowly, sometimes less than an inch of new wood per century. Sacrificing height and mass and surface area to minimize wind.
When are you going to
minimize
tell me
surface
why I
transport
should
demand,
touch a tree?
minimize
Or is it
structural
just because
stress,
trees are
trade
connected
scale
to other
growth.
trees? Is
And
that
it
the
worked
whole
over
thing?
5,000 years until
Is it the trees are connected to everything, so touching a tree is touching everything? Because technically I'm touching everything right now. It's happening, okay? I don't need to do shit. Or is it that when you stand near a tree and it jizzes in your lungs, then that makes your lungs feel better? Or is it that when you ground yourself near a tree, the electricity affects your blood, and then you can become an electro blood vampire? Like, what is the reason I'm supposed to touch a tree every day? Let's get to it.
the graduate student's tool got stuck. There is something very interesting about this. Every tree on Earth is caught between two forces. Its biology wants to keep going. Cells dividing, cambium growing, life continuing without any internal limit.
Sure.
But its physics is a countdown. Every ring of growth adds mass, adds height, adds surface area, brings the structure one increment closer to the scaling limit where something external will destroy it. Trees are biologically immortal organisms living inside structures that physics will eventually break. Stand next to any tree and think about what you now know. What you're really standing next to. You're touching solidified air. Carbon atoms pulled from the atmosphere and forged into chemical bonds by
I mean,
electromagnetic
I'm
energy
solidified
captured
air.
from
What
a
are you even
star
talking
93
about?
million miles away. The wood under
We're
your hand
all
is centuries of
stardust.
starlight made solid. And right now, without you feeling a thing, three physics mechanisms are operating on your body.
I mean, in a certain point of view, we're all just light, right? Like light particles moving at different speeds and things vibrating at different speeds to form these different particles. Like, from a certain point of view, we're all just space. And he even said at the beginning where everything is mostly empty space when you get down to a certain look at it. We're all just the void experiencing itself. So, you know, I can do that here. I don't need to touch a tree to realize that I'm part of everything. But if that's what gets you there, man, that's fine.
Through the gap between your skin and that bark.
Certainty. That's the feeling.
Oh man, look at this guy. He's so certain.
Sigma. With over 300,000
Millipore
products,
Sigma?
plus
What
trusted
is
support
this?
to guide
Is this
you,
AI?
you've got shopping for science.
Feels like this
down
is some
to a
skibbity
science.
riz.
Start
Molecular diffusion
Okay,
is
moving
delivering
on.
antimicrobial compounds along a concentration gradient, compounds that will alter your natural killer cell activity for the next 7 days. Electrons are flowing from the ground through the trunk into your body, modifying the electrical charge on your red blood cells. And your
Cool.
brain is registering warmth that does not exist. A thermal illusion created by
My
low
brain is
conductivity.
not registering warmth. It's just not registering cold because I'm not getting the heat pulled out of me. I don't actually need you to explain the physics to realize that. I've never touched the banister and been like, man, now I'm warm. That's not how that shit works.
coefficients that your nervous system has no way to distinguish from real warmth.
Like,
Beneath
who
your
are the people that he's used to talking to that think that when you touch warm wood, it warms you? Like, who are these guys? Like, who have you been talking to that you feel like you needed to explain all this to me?
A scale-free network of fungal threads connects this tree to every other tree around it,
Cool.
redistributing carbon and chemical signals through a web that was operating before you were born and will continue after you are gone. The tree
Hey, you don't know if it'll continue after I'm gone. We have a lot of time to completely destroy our environment.
It is a node. It recognizes its offspring. It feeds them through the network. And when it is dying, it will send everything it has left into the system for the others. And the tree itself, the living cells in its cambium, may be functionally immortal, dividing without degradation. Telomeres rebuilding. No biological clock. No expiration.
Sure.
Limited, not by aging, not by disease.
No
not by
biological
failure of its
clock
own
unless
cells,
you
but
consider
by the square
physics, in which
wall,
case
by
biological
windfalls,
clock.
by the
Gotcha.
cavitation limit of water under tension 300 feet above the ground. Physics writes the death certificate for every tree on Earth. Never biology. You touched a tree once. You touched it and walked away and you thought nothing had changed. Everything had changed. You just could not see it.
What
Neither could Van
changed?
Helmont, the man who invented the word for what he could not see, who held the answer in the air around him for 5 years and never recognized it. You know, a flower does not become less beautiful when you understand the physics. It becomes something more. And the same is true for every tree you have ever walked past without stopping. Touch one tomorrow. Not because it is spiritual, because it is physics.
Okay.
Do you know that if you touch the fucking tree, you disappear? I'm not gonna really touch it because I don't want to disappear.
Hold on a second now. This is the opposite of what that guy was telling me. That guy was telling me I should touch a tree. Did this kid just say if I touch the tree, I'll disappear? Hold
Do you
on.
know that if you touch the fucking tree, you disappear? I'm not gonna really touch it because I don't want to disappear.
Oh my god, guys! This is real!
Don't touch this!
Oh my god! It's the eyeball tree. Jesus.
Abracadabra.
It's like always one video away from AI slop, isn't it? The fuck is this?
And max 228.
What in the fuck?
Here are some terrifying trees you should never touch. In Pakistan, you can find these ghost trees. You might be curious as to what gives these trees such a ghost-like
Whoa,
appearance.
that's cool looking.
Well, it's the spiders. The millions of
Oh.
spiders that live in the trees and weave webs there. Spiders go up into these trees when it floods, and then they weave these humongous webs.
Wow.
Another tree you should never touch is the sandbox tree, because it's covered in super sharp spikes. Also, the fruits in these trees will pop sometimes, and this will send debris flying everywhere. Avoid trees with this red line on them. That's the sign of the manchineel tree, which are some of the most poisonous trees in the
There you go.
world. If you just stand near one of them, you'll need an ambulance. And you definitely can't eat the fruit from the tree. You'll most certainly die. The tree can also damage any material, even metal, because
So why was I looking for this after we watched the last video? Why? Because I know you guys, my audience, know not to just go touch any old random tree because that video said to touch a tree. But there's going to be someone out there who watches my video, touches the wrong fucking tree, and blames me for it. Look, motherfuckers, don't just go touching any old tree, okay? Know your science first. Think before you act. Because even though we're all connected and we're all one, eventually this fleshy body turns back into the worm food and the thing that feeds the tree in the first place, fertilizer, in the ground. And you don't want that to be sooner than you're ready, okay? So don't touch the tree unless you know it's safe.
Did you know? There is a cave in Thailand called Naka Cave, which looks like a giant snake. It is
Hell
believed
yeah,
that centuries
guys.
ago, a
Oh,
snake-
wait. I should end the video now for no reason. Listen, we learned a lot about trees today, and now I'm understanding why that guy was feeling the way he was feeling about those other trees. Now that I'm looking at this tree, I'm starting to feel a couple of ways myself with this snaky looking tree. But besides that, I hope you guys enjoyed learning why you should touch a tree, but not all trees. And until next time, safe travels.